welcome back to the TVBinges.com Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm Kyle Tremblay, the editor of TVBinges.com, and I am joined as always by a fellow TV Binges writer. She said a Chicago fire was picked up by Chicago PD and is now in Chicago Med. It's Olivia Richards. Hello.
I know, I've been busy in the past 3 weeks.
Just touring Chicago.
Tearing up the streets.
I guess that's why we haven't recorded our podcast. No, the real reason is, of course, that no new network shows have premiered until tonight, because this week marked the premiere of NBC's latest entry into the commercially successful Chicago dynasty of shows. It's Chicago Med. Olivia, what did you think?
Oh god, this show, alright, it's another Dick Wolf procedural, so it's like we all kind of knew what we were getting into.
Law and Order, all that
exactly, stuff. Like all of the Law and Orders, everything that he does, where he's just become such a household name for this genre of television, and I managed to condense everything, all 45 minutes into 10, and I still feel like I watched the whole episode.
Oh, I envy you, because I sat through the whole 45 minutes, and
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I first of all, I can't believe we're talking about this show when I A, could be playing Fallout 4, and B, could be at least rewatching the first 2 episodes of The Man in the High Castle on Amazon, which, if our listeners are looking for good television, may I recommend that show, which is spectacular and excellent. And the fact that the rules of our podcast indicate that we are instead talking about this bland and flat medical procedural on NBC instead of a dynamic and fun show like that is really eating me alive inside.
Oh no!
But soldiering on, I mean, it's hard to come up with things to say about this. I thought it was interesting to compare and contrast it with another pilot we watched, Code Black, I think which was a CBS medical drama. This is clearly more glossy and I would say polished and less gritty and real.
Yeah.
But neither of us like that show, and neither of us like this show, and I don't know. What do you think about medical dramas, just in general? Like, what's your stance on medical dramas?
It really depends on which one that we're talking about, because I'm like, there are so many to choose from, but I frequently find that they all kind of fall into the same category of, like, they all are really interchangeable. So, like, you just mentioned Code Black, and, like, you know, with this new one that came up, like, they all blend together, and even, like, to a certain extent, Grey's Anatomy, like, that one, because it's a Shonda Rhimes, like, it stands out. There's nothing really in the shows that's super special, unless we're talking about something like House, and that one, I think we had mentioned that again with what we were talking about with Code Black too, like, that one is sort of standing on its own for, like, a lot of different reasons. But typically, like, medical dramas and, like, cop dramas and anything that's, like, a strict procedural, like, they all are so mass-produced that they all kind of blend together into, like, this giant, like, lump, and it's really hard to pick one from the other.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, House is instructive because all these shows are identical. They're all, you know, a bunch of people are working in an ER or a hospital or wherever. And each week they have crises to solve. And in this week it was a train crash led to a bunch of people in the ER, and we follow the doctors as they treat those people. And that's a plot of Grey's Anatomy, that's a plot of House, that's a plot of Code Black, that's a plot here. Like, it's like these plots are so universal and these shows are so interchangeable. What made House remarkable and stand out among the crowd is that Hugh Laurie's performance, basically.
Yep.
If that show did not have Hugh Laurie at the center of it, I think it would have been anonymous and canceled after 1 or 2 seasons. Like, that is, and I think that is what this show and Code Black, even though Code Black is a really good Luis Guzman performance, and a couple of the other actors on the show are really good, it doesn't have a singular performance the way that Hugh Laurie was in House. And I think that's what's missing. In terms of current TV, because of course House has been off the air for a while, I think there's one and only one medical drama, and it's called The Nick, and it's on Cinemax.
I know you're a huge fan.
Yeah, and I can barely watch that show because it's so gnarly, and I'm not a fan of medical dramas in general, but the reason that show works is, first of all, it has a singular performance by Clive Owen. He's incredible in that show, and the other actors are great too. But also, Steven Soderbergh directs every episode. and you get to watch anything on television with Steven Soderbergh in charge, and it's like you're not even watching television anymore. He is transcendent as a director, and you watch that show and you watch how interesting the camera moves and where his focus lies, and it becomes apparent that all medical dramas are the same, and the plotting on the Nick is the same as all these other medical dramas too, by the way. It's just what interesting things can you do in terms of the actors and the directors? And
Yeah.
the answer for Chicago Med is literally nothing. That's the fundamental problem here. Is there is just nothing here other than by the books medical drama. And
And it's
yeah.
so sad because I'm like, it has, like Esapatha Merkerson and like Oliver Platt. And it's like the same thing happened with Code Black. Is like they have these really, really talented actors like Marcia Gay Harden and
Mm-hmm.
Luis Guzman. And I'm like, they just get so wrapped up in the blandness of the plot that it's almost like throwing a blanket over them and it doesn't even matter that they're there anymore.
Right. They aren't given enough the way that it's not a playground for them. Like Hugh Laurie, House reminds me of The Blacklist in that like James Spader, it's kind of a playground for him on that show, and you basically take a great actor and give him a sort of hammy role and just let him go buck wild on it. And sort of both those shows, and that is a proven and successful structure in procedural television. If you can get yourself a great dynamic actor to lead your show, by all means, this is kind of what Homeland thinks it's doing with Claire Danes, although I would respectfully beg to differ. But uh, so, but again, like Chicago Med, like there's none of that. Like this is a show about hunky doctors who have hunky doctor problems. It's like I think his name is Colin Donnell is playing our George Clooney here, who's a roguish, but he has a heart of gold, and he was involved in the train crash, and he's trying to help the survivors. And then Nick Gelfus is his rival, who spoiler alert is also hunky, and double spoiler also has a heart of gold. Like there's just not a lot going on here. There's just not. I don't know. I can't think of a reason to watch this show. That's my
Yeah.
ultimate thing. Like,
Besides watching every single episode and hashtagging it with hunky doctor problems, I think that might be the best
oh,
way to watch it, making it into either a drinking game or making it into something that you can hashtag using
oh,
that trend.
hashtag hunky doctor problems is
Keep that going.
it's like an at midnight topic for patient passed out from my chiseled chin. Stared at my chin too long. Dimples too deep. No, I mean,
Because I could cut you.
yes, exactly. Yeah, cut another nurse today with my chin. Yeah, but yeah, it's clearly a soap opera, which is fine. But I mean, ER came out like what was it, 25 years ago? Like,
Oh, something like that.
and the show is just a pale imitation of ER. But when you're doing like a basically a note for note remake of a show that's 25 years old, you're not exactly gonna capture the hearts and minds of TV viewers. So,
Yeah, no, we're too far down the rabbit hole.
yeah. Was there anything about this that you enjoyed? Any elements that you thought were fun?
I mean, the 10 minutes that I was watching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, again, I'm a huge Oliver Platt fan, and it's really
Yeah.
nice seeing him back on TV. So, just for that, I was like, all right, this is cool. But other than that, you know what? It's not anything that's so dynamic that like I have these big moments that were like standing out.
Oh, I broke my notes up into two sections, negatives and positives, and I've only been reading from the negative so far. The positive consists of one line, and it's Oliver Platt.
Yes.
I'm glad to see him on TV. I'm glad he's playing the like mentor figure who all the doctors go and talk to when they have problems. Who's like tough on the outside, but spoiler alert,
But a heart of gold.
also has a heart of gold.
Nailed it.
I'm just gonna spoil the whole show and let the listeners know everyone has a heart of gold on this show. It's kind of the premise. But yeah, that was my one enjoyable thing is that his two scenes, like I'm sure he filmed this entire season in like one day on set. Like they just sort of filmed all of his scenes at once and let him
You
go.
just threw him in there.
Yeah, but he'd be the kind of figure where, like, if you built a whole show around him, like if he was like an expert doctor who's seen it all, and the whole emergency room scene is happening to the side of him, but it's not the center of the show. The center is him sort of navigating the hospital bureaucracy and interacting with doctors, and like the challenges that he has between sort of being a liaison between the administration and the doctors themselves. Like, I could see an interesting show about him, but
I would absolutely watch that.
Right? He's on screen for 45 seconds in this episode. So
that's such a waste.
Yeah, so this show is really just hunky doctor solving problems. There are potentially interesting medical stories to be told around the fringes. This show is not interested in the fringes. It is just interested in the emergency room. So Chicago Med did a 2.2 rating with 8.6 million viewers, which is a nice number. Like all the Chicago shows, there is an audience for this. They are very old and don't have good taste. But nonetheless, I mean, it's what NBC wants. In a sort of network season of disastrously bad new shows, they will take what they can get in terms of numbers. So, congratulations.
That happened.
Yeah. Also, a more hearty congratulations to ABC and Wicked City for being our first officially canceled show of the season.
Yes, and again, not a moment too soon.
Not a moment too soon. It's so funny. We should talk about this in a more broad sense, since this pilot just sucked. But
so badly.
But networks aren't canceling shows anymore. Like, I feel like it's kind of like a white flag. Like, they just... It used to be, like, 4 weeks into every season, half the new shows were canceled, and they were putting new ones on in place of the canceled new ones. But now, like, every show is getting... It just gets its order reduced, but they're still, like, making, 12 episodes of the show, even when it's not doing well in the ratings. But Wicked City was so spectacularly bad, and as I tweeted you, it broke the lowest ratings ever for a primetime network drama record.
Oh my god, when I heard that, or when I read that, my heart just went to, like, a brand new, beautiful place.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it did so poorly that ABC, out of pure shame, had to cancel it. And you know what? Good on you, ABC, because that show needed to be canceled.
That was not something that ever should have even been talked about, let alone put into full execution.
It was bad from start to finish. There was not a positive moment of that show. This isn't that bad. Chicago Med, it's just more bland and boring, and I don't know why anyone would ever watch it. So your verdict, Olivia, do you think it'll be canceled quickly, make it through the season, or be renewed for a second season?
Based on the ratings, I think it might make it through the season, but I can't really see it being brought back for a second.
Oh, if only. I think NBC is in the Chicago business, and they want their trio of Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med to ultimately air on the same night, so you can have an all Chicago night of boring drama.
Yes, all of the Dick Wolf you can possibly handle.
So I am saying this is going to get a second season and probably like a seventh season. I just think that these shows, we're going to be stuck with them forever, and no one will know they're on the air, but they'll mysteriously do good ratings.
Somehow.
I feel like that's this show's destiny. All right, final verdict, Olivia, thumbs up or thumbs down on Chicago Med?
It's going to be a thumbs down.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Deep sigh. Just not a lot here. Not a lot to go on. Thumbs down for me as well. Not a show that I think anyone will ever discuss on a podcast again. So
probably not.
Congratulations to us for being the only two, in your case millennial, in my case semi-millennial, to talk about this show ever.
Yay! We did it.
Confetti, kazoo. Sad trombone. All right, so you've been listening to the Pilot Roundtable, a TVBinges.com and Southgate Media Group production. You can listen to all of our episodes on iTunes, where you can rate and review us. We'd appreciate that. Or find us at southgatemediagroup.com. Follow Olivia on Twitter at RichardsOlivia, and me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV. Until next time.